the Ministry of Defense, the state of Maharashtra, Mumbai Police, institutional turpitude, lack of integrity. And this is exacerbated by this ineptitude, and all the speakers before me, including Dr. Kalam, have made reference to the scourge of corruption. I don't have time to go into details, but many years ago I did a small study of Jammu and Kashmir in the early 90s and came up with this very disturbing reality, proved with facts and figures, that actually terrorism in the early 90s had become a cottage industry in J&K. The state was investing funds, we had groups, we had various people observing this activity, and one of the reasons why this was being sustained is that each of them at different stages were benefiting from keeping it alive. So I'll leave it at that to say that, this whole malignancy that we have has to be acknowledged, and I have said this in public whenever I've had an opportunity. This country has been speaking about terrorism emotively after November 2008. Everybody will tell you that the policeman, the beat constable, is the strongest link in dealing with the problem of terrorism. Dr. Kalam asked all of us to take an oath to report to the nearest police person anything that is suspicious. But we are also talking of a system. Having lived in Delhi now for about 25 years, I know large parts of India in and around Delhi where recruitment to the police starts with a bribe. It's also based on consideration of ethnicity, which caste, subcaste, etc. These are all realities. And this has become part of the political bun fight that takes place in states like UP and Bihar, where one chief minister comes, does a large recruitment, the other comes, there is a change of government, and these are all reopened. How do you expect to ensure these levels of integrity when the system itself shows itself to be incapable or unwilling to do better? So I think these are some of the realities, and my submission is integrity has to be restored. Institutional integrity, and when Dr. Kalam spoke about all political parties need to make this bipartisan, I am saying as an analyst, national security does not have a stakeholder. It does not have the kind of collective stakeholder integrity and directivity that we are seeking, and the commitment. And these are the issues that need to be changed. I am very critical of the state when I say that it has lost the ability or the will to create these capacities. Year after year, the defense budget comes up. This year, as some of you may be aware, our defense budget has crossed 140,000 crores. That's a large amount of money. 140,000 crores. Last year's budget was in that order, about $30 billion. The Indian Parliament does not discuss this even for 5 minutes. This is a reality. They will discuss various other things, and I've said this in Delhi, so what I'm saying is not new. So when I say that the state has to create capacities, if your parliamentarians whom you elect do not have the time or the ability, then I think the state is culpable in a very, very deep way, and so are the people for not raising these issues. Not all our citizens are in this privileged position of being able to address and think about these issues, but all of you do, everyone sitting here. And like you, every other metropolitan city of India. So my suggestion is, what is the reality? When Mr. Pranab Mukherjee presented the budget in the end of February this year, the government of India, the Ministry of Defense, returned almost 5,500 crores as unspent. At a time when I am saying as an analyst, the Indian state is woefully inadequate in many parts of its security apparatus, and this is not just Army, Navy and Air Force, the armed forces, but also the paramilitary, the intelligence and the state police, with due respect to all the senior people who are sitting over here. I travel through India, I go to police stations, and what I hear, what I see, and I faithfully give this back to Delhi. There are some people in Delhi who ask me to carry out some independent surveys and give this. But there are many such reports that the government of India has in New Delhi, and they are not being acted upon. So this is the second large point that I'm making. The state is not creating the kind of capacities it needs to, as also investing in the kind of human resource or protecting the kind of human resource we have. I often say that the Indian state is corrupt. It has many inadequacies, but I'm also the first to admit that there are some outstanding individuals. But we are gradually going towards a position where merit has to be masked That's a sad statement for a state and a society. Integrity has to be kept hidden. These are not attributes for a country that is seeking, forget about great power, even to be equitable to its own people. So this is a very, very serious problem that we need to address. That having been said, I think the second area is what I call as the non-state, the civil society, the private sector, of whom there are many actors. Short point is, this is a national issue. This problem is going to be with us for a long time to come. 10 years to 15 years is my estimate. My plea, my advocacy, get your feet wet and your hands dirty. Delhi alone or Mumbai police alone cannot deal with this problem. We need more thoughts, we need more effort, and when I say national security does not have a stakeholder, I think this part of India, corporate India, all these gifted men and women who are contributing and increasing India's GDP need to get engaged in this in whichever manner that you feel. I could talk to you about Israel and how states, societies acquire certain cultures, certain empathies, certain sensitivities about dealing with the issue of terrorism, but I'll leave it at that in the interest of time. But I do have one point that I want to flag for Mumbai. I've said this many times, but perhaps with very little effect, which is the power of the medium. We are living in the ice age, information, communication, entertainment. This is Mumbai, this is Bollywood. Every time I go to Kabul, I go to Pakistan, I travel through this part of the world, the power of the Indian medium, whether it is the video, whether it's the film, whether it's the CD, all these things that come up, it's extraordinary. You have to see it to believe it. I am suggesting, I just want to share one, can I take a minute, Troy sir? I just want to share one example with you. 2 weeks ago, I had gone to London for a conference. Again, guess what? It was a conference on Afghanistan, Pakistan to review US policy. It had the usual mix of Indians, Americans, and those who look at the region. Some serving, some retired, some intelligence, and what I call as the mafia. We meet ever so often on the same issues. I came to London on a weekend. I got into a car that was sent for me, and as we went, the driver started speaking in Hindustani/Urdu. It transpired that he had come from Pakistan many years ago as a child of 3-4 years and was now running a small fleet of cars. One of the first things he asked me was, when he realized that I'm from Delhi, that have I seen this film, My Name is Khan? So I said, yes, I did. So he asked me some questions about it, and also in parenthesis asked me, did I see the other film made in Pakistan called Khuda Ke Liye? I said, yes, I had. So we had a little discussion, and we spoke about what was happening in Pakistan, how it was very bad, etc., etc. Came to the conference. The next day, between sessions, I went to one of these tube stations, and on the way we stopped for a cup of coffee, 2 of us from the delegates. Predictably, that was being run by an Indian of Gujarati origin, Mr. Patel. We sat down, ordered a coffee. When he realized that we were from India, colleague and me, he asked us, have you seen this film? I said, which one? My Name is Khan. So I said, yes, I did. So he had a completely different interpretation from what I heard on day one. So what I'm saying, and I've said this to some of my friends who work in Bollywood, that we cannot, India does not have the luxury to say that we will engage with the Pakistani